Let's talk about how your chronic pain is emotional. It can be so hard to believe, especially when you have x-rays showing herniated discs or acid reflux that is so clearly physical, or some sort of pain that just feels so damaged in your body. Yet, less than 1% of chronic pain is from a physical problem in the body. It is all actually emotional. Now think of it like this. When you feel the pain in your body, isn't it a feeling? When you feel anxiety and you get really hot, have you ever heard of people or been one yourself who's had a panic attack so bad that your heart is racing? Maybe you start sweating, you might even start blinking a lot. Some people feel like they're having a heart attack and they have to go to the hospital, and then they find out they're just having a panic attack. Yet it was physical. It was a feeling. Just like the pain in your back or in your feet or in your frozen shoulder or in your stomach or wherever it is a feeling. And you might describe it as this hot pain, this buzzing pain, this sharp pain. Sharp is a feeling. Buzzing is a feeling. These are all feelings. So as hard as it can be to believe that, yes, even your pain is from your emotional turmoil that you're disconnected from, the sooner you realize that when you work with your emotions in your body, the sooner you will heal. And here's the great thing. Knowing that your chronic pain is emotional, that is actually made up of emotions, which has an opinion. It has an opinion. It has a belief. It has a directive, a decision about how the world works. When you realize this, then you can actually go in and talk to the pain. So my name's Kai Clifford, for those of you new here. I'm your spiritual guide and energy alchemist, and I am skilled in healing and reprogramming the subconscious mind. I've been doing this for 12 years as of filming in 2024. And I can tell you, I've seen all sorts of problems, from relationship problems to being abused to PTSD to some serious mental issues to chronic pain from acid reflux, stomach spasms to not being able to walk on your feet to asthma. And these are the things that I've had massive success in healing. One of my clients who had acid reflux, stomach spasms to the point where she couldn't even lay down. She was in so much excruciating pain for 4 years. The doctors had sent her home saying, sorry, we can't help you, nothing we can do. She worked with me, actually came to work with me on business stuff because I help people with business blocks, relationship stuff, with feeling vitality and more energy, because it's all connected in a holistic way. When you know how to work from an atomic ground zero level, you'll see it's all connected. And she came to me for her business blocks, which we helped her clear some fears of visibility, and we got her going in her business, feeling less resistance, reaching out to people, all of the things. But in the process, at the very beginning, I asked her what pain she had. She had stomach spasms to the point where she felt unsafe to leave the house in case she had a spasm attack. It was so embarrassing, so painful, and terrifying, because at any moment she could be thrown into massive pain. So she worked with me, and I took her in to actually talk with the pain. And this is one example of many in all different areas of pain, that because they all heal in the same way. All in the same way, no matter where your pain is, from frozen shoulder to foot pain to asthma to MS, it all heals in the same way. I'm telling you this. And so we took her in, and I took her into the pain, and through the method that I do, I taught her how to listen to it, how to talk with it, and how to get her subconscious mind to actually communicate with her, to tell her what the emotional pain was about. Because the feelings always come from a belief, which come from an experience and the way you perceived it. So not the actual experience itself, it's the way you perceived the experience. It's the way you took it, like personally, or to mean that things were unsafe, and the decisions that you made from that. So as we went into her pain, we found out these deep feelings of unforgiveness, of unsafety, of regret, of inner turmoil. And we also worked with the actual physical feeling. It began to dissolve. And in her body, it went from what just seemed like this big physical thing to, it feels light and airy now, and it doesn't feel as heavy and awful. And after a matter of months, it went away. And this is what I see in all of my clients. Now, the time varies. Some people don't need very much time to heal, but then other things will come up. Like maybe things in their relationships will be ready to be healed. Maybe something they've been putting up with for a very long time all of a sudden comes to the surface, and the treatment that they don't like starts bothering them, because they're now healed to a level that they can see that attention itself isn't love, and that we have to have standards and communication and boundaries to bring relationships closer together. And then it might come up and it might start bothering them, and then there might be fights. And then if we continue the work, then we'll be able to clear that and go up another level. And then the relationship will heal. Or if it's not meant for you, you'll leave the relationship. It will dissolve, but it will be in a way that works for you. So when you do this work, it starts clearing every area of your life, and usually multiple areas at once. Some areas that you didn't even know that you needed healing in. And this is why I'm so obsessed with this work. I'm here to save souls. Like I myself, I used to have PTSD, chronic anxiety, social anxiety, like severely, was so pained at what people thought of me. I had a chronic lung disease that, just like I described with my client who was always terrified because of another attack could come on, I was constantly terrified every morning when I woke up. Same with the client with the stomach spasms. She's the exact story. Every morning when we woke up, we didn't know each other, obviously, but independently in our own lives, it would be this fear, this terror, this freezing, because you knew the very nanosecond that you moved, you'd be flung up in massive pain. And for me, it was a coughing fit. For her, it was an acid reflux stomach spasm fit. And for me, it would go on for like an hour of morning coughing. And it just got worse and worse and worse throughout my life until it finally exacerbated. I almost died from walking pneumonia and bronchitis. It was so serious. And fortunately, I'd already been doing energy work for a year. It already had profoundly healed me from serious PTSD, which I was still in the process of healing. But it's like learning a language and knowing how to speak, a conversation about what you want for dinner, but not knowing how to speak a whole conversation about something else. So you learn little bits and you get big wins along the way. And I had big wins. I felt so much better. I released so much fear, so many like insecurities and hang-ups and snappiness and triggers and flying off the handle. And I became calmer, kinder, more open, less insecure, and still, it was a multi-year journey, but within that 1 year, I'd already healed so much. But then my lung issues came to a head because the things that I was ignoring, the deep grief that I had in my life, because lungs are for grief. And so I had deep grief, and that's why I had lung issues every year, increasingly for longer periods of time. It wasn't healing, it was getting worse. Unfortunately, rather than just trying to repress it, I did in the beginning because I needed to. I didn't have another way. So I did have to take the antibiotics, which was absolutely fine because I absolutely needed to at the time. But by this time, it was just time to heal it naturally and for real and properly. So fortunately, I'd already been using this energy healing technique, which I've developed upon and now teach my clients and have helped thousands of people globally. And with one of my classmates, so it was just synchronistically the first day of the second year of training, these big healing, like this little sort of healing retreat, but it was big in volume because, a little class of us would get there and we'd do self-healing, we'd heal, we'd face our fears, we'd cry our tears, we'd feel our feelings, we'd scream, we'd shout, we'd laugh, we'd dance, we'd play, and we got all of the pain and the trauma that we could out of our systems, and it was miraculous, and it worked, and it built us up, and I had a spiritual experience after spiritual experience, and heart opening, and just body relaxing, mind altering in the best of ways. And and we did hours of this work every day, like 3 days a week for, I think the first year was 4 weeks in a row. And I think also did I did sessions and stuff within that year. And then the next year was 6 weeks for 3 days in a row each week. But right on the very first day of the second year, that's when my bronchitis had turned into pneumonia. They were begging me to go to the hospital. And the only reason that I went to this first day, because it was an intro day training, and where you bring your friends if you want, or people can come in and see if they want to try it for free. And then if they want to sign up, then they continue. Now, here's the funny thing is when people do this healing work and they're feeling sick, they'll often message me and they say, Kai, I don't feel so well today. Can we skip the session? I'm like, well, of course you can. You're welcome to. We can always reschedule. But, or what if we just do it anyway? Because the best time to heal is when you're feeling sick. When all the icky stuff is up, that is the best time to heal. And only because I'd met this friend who had been through a lot of severe abuse, like real severe abuse. And I've been helping her in my house. Like this is before I was doing it professionally, and just had a massive gift for using this energy healing method on all of her abuse and her trauma and her pain and her insecurity that made her all twisted and scared. And it helped her heal so deeply. And then I actually took her, I invited her to the second round for the healing that year. Now, I was so incredibly sick. I was hoarse. I couldn't even speak. I was pallid, had no color in my skin. And you could literally see I was struggling. I was struggling to breathe. I was suffocating just by living. It was a mess. It was really, really bad. Like anyone else would have gone to the hospital a long time before me. It's just my personality. It's who I am. I'm a self-healer and an experimenter, and I have a high risk tolerance. So I'm not advocating that for anyone. I'm just saying this is my personal experience. This is who I am. And so I did relent, and I said I would acquiesce and say, okay, fine, I will go to the hospital. But that was only once I got to the healing center, and I said, if this doesn't work, I'll go. But it did work. Okay, now, but the only reason I got to the healing center that day was because my friend, who I just spoken about, needed to go, and I needed to introduce her, and she was very shy and insecure and timid. And so I hopped in a taxi, which was a big effort for me to even move. I was like, really, I just want to say I was like on death's door. It was really bad. That I hopped in the taxi, I went down to the center, introduced her to my teacher, and I walked up the steps and I went to her, I'm not going to stay. And she's like, why? I was like, I can't breathe. And she went, well, you walked up the steps, didn't you? She's like, why didn't you stay anyway? And here's the thing. That was the exact time that I needed the healing. And one thing led to another synchronistically. And even though it's very good to cry and emote and let your emotions out in this, sometimes when somebody's like really in it and the crowd work is too general because it's call and response, the teacher Sonia Sophia, who you may have heard of or you may hear of in the future, up the front. And then we all copy her with the energy work, like she says what we need to say, and then we repeat it back and change any words to suit ourselves. Well, I was just a waterfall of emotion, guttural cries, big tears, and there's nothing wrong with that, except that she knew that I clearly needed some one-to-one work. So she asked one of the class, she sort of stopped the session with all the room of people, and she asked one of my classmates from the year before if they'd take me aside and do some tapping with me. And someone volunteered, a really lovely lady, talented and skilled, called Jenny Brav, B-R-A-V. And we went downstairs, and while everyone continued upstairs, she helped me heal something that was so physical. Like I felt like I had lumps in my chest. I felt so sick, like sick. And so we began. And this method involves a lot of tapping. Now, I do tapping sometimes I don't, because it really is about the energy work inside. It's about feeling the feelings and manipulating them and changing your relationship with them, reimagining them. But the tapping can help to move the energy through your body too. So we were like tapping through, and as we're doing the main event, which was feeling the feeling, leaning towards, you have to lean towards and accept the feeling. And it's very hard. Can you imagine how hard it is to accept the feeling of literally suffocating? It took about an hour of this work. And as we're leaning towards a feeling, accepting the fact I can't accept it, being like accepting the fact that I'm terrified of it and allowing all of that to happen, because you can't really understand why this is all so important until you actually do the healing. And once you do it, you will feel like whatever your physical stuff is lifts off like it turns into steam. You'll feel it dissolve and melt. You'll feel it just crumble. You'll feel it change. You'll feel it transform in a way that you've never felt before and cannot imagine and can't even believe is a real thing until you try it. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart, and not even a condescending way. It's just is what it is. You can't imagine it until you've tried it. And once you've tried it, you'll be like, oh, and you won't be able to explain it. And you'll be talking to people and you go, oh, I can't explain it. Okay? So in this session, we're leaning towards all these things, accepting what's happening, allowing it to be there, trying to lean towards suffocating, not able to, that's fine. So leaning towards not being able to lean towards it. And then scrolling to my memories of when I was a child, a baby, growing up in a drug house with teenage criminal parents who, I'm not trying to, say anything bad on them. They had their own suffering, their own misery, their own upbringing trauma to deal with. They didn't know what they were doing. They were basically kids themselves. This is how it gets passed down generation through generation through generation. It is what it is. And so because I was locked in my room alone a lot of the time, I was cold, I was grief-stricken, the people around me were scary and on drugs. Anytime that my grandparents came to visit me, I was very dirty and very scared. And it was just quite a traumatic early childhood. And then when I got taken away to live with my grandparents when I was about 2 or 3, that had its own level of trauma in it as well. Now, remember, trauma isn't what happens to you, actually. It's the way that we can't process the emotion, so our little systems shut down. We're too young to be able to cope feeling it, and we'd literally die. Like, if a house gets struck by lightning, what happens? The power breakers, the circuit breakers, they go off and all the lights go off. But if you go and turn the circuit breaker on, then the lights come back on. And that's what my healing does for you with your chronic pain or your relationship issues, your emotional issues, your mental health issues, even your money issues, all of the things like that. We go in because when you're a kid, it was too much for your little system to handle. You had to disassociate, you had to numb out, you had to shut down. And you had to. It was the right thing to do. But to do this, you stored pockets of pain, of memories of what happened to deal with later on. We're so profoundly designed. And so now, as an adult, when the chronic pain comes up to the surface, it's time to deal with it. But most people don't know how. I know how, okay? And my teacher knew how. And my friend who helped me, Jenny Brav, she'd been taught with me, so she knew how. And so over this time, she ended up being with me for 4 hours. 4 hours in this one big long session. After everyone had gone home, she stayed with me. What a champion, what an angel. And as I said, so it felt really heavy, like, I mean, I wish there was a different word, but sick. It was vile. It was suffocating. It felt just so bad. The worst, love the worst. It was really, really bad. But through this session, went into healing the grief I had from a child, crying. You let all the emotions out. You have to feel to heal. You feel. All this stored up emotion from years of not feeling, from having to shut down when I was young. All my teenage years, having to shut down, never being safe to feel, never being believed, never feeling safe. And so I shut it all down. And as an adult, it all started coming out through mental health issues and psychoses and anxieties and being brash and abrasive and danger to myself sometimes, like all these things. We all have our own personal stories, but this was how mine showed up. Yours might have shown up completely differently. It's still what it is, still trauma. So the trauma comes from saving these pockets of emotion for when you're able to deal with them as an adult. And that's what we do in my healing work. So anyway, long story short, let's get to the end of the story now. By the end of the healing session, all of the stuff has started feeling like this big, heavy stuff to breaking up into what, like that static on TV. Okay, like remember the static and the snow that you used to see on the TVs? I don't know if you still do, and it started being this big, like heavy, like I would imagine there were lumps and stuff, and it was awful to moving static all around. And I started burping and yawning and crying and screaming. And this was happening because it's all the energy releasing. When you go with it and you allow your body and you're held by someone, it's really hard to do this work by yourself, especially like in that intensity. But any intensity, it's hard to do this work by yourself. So it doesn't mean you shouldn't try, though. You should still try. You should still have your own home practice. You should still try. And I have plenty of YouTube videos, plenty of home study programs that you can use. And it doesn't even matter if it's on chronic pain, as long as it's a story that you have in your life. Like if you have fear of being seen, then you do something on fear of being seen, on social anxiety, on things like that, right? And it's all related. It's all connected. So by the end of this energy had moved around and I started yawning and burping it out, which was all of that physical stuff, that emotional pain that was chronic pain, releasing from my body. And by the end of it, I had one tiny sliver of pain in my throat, and I'd already just learned how to do this backwards breath, this accepting backwards breath to like breathe. And it turns out it's like this ancient breath, I found out afterwards. And I released the end of it within the next few days, and then over the next 6 weeks I did a few more sessions with my teacher Sonia Sophia 1-to-1. And after that, bingo, bango, never had a lung issue since 2011. I used to get sick every year. And I used to, if I ever tried to smoke anything, I'd get really, really sick. Like one puff of like a joint or something, and I would just double over in pain, and I would literally be bedridden. And now I don't really like to smoke weed and things like that, not because, I wouldn't, but just because I don't really like it. But if I ever have had a smoke over the years, I literally don't have any problems from it whatsoever. At all. And this is massive because I used to get sick every year for like 4 months and 6 months and 8 months in a row, coughing for 6 and 7 hours a day. 6 and 7 hours a day. And then to not have any lung issues since. Same as my client who had asthma, and she was doing my work on money. She wasn't even doing anything on chronic illness. This is like years and years ago, before I asked people if they had physical pain. And would you believe it? What happened was she was doing work on her self-worth, on her grief, on her fears, on money stuff, manifesting money, all of these sorts of things. And she had so many up levels. She started, doing live streams and being more visible. And she was doing private work, group work in one of my life programs. And she was doing my home study program. So the more of this work you do, the better. You can't do too much. And considering that we have so many problems, you might as well get through it and binge on it like Netflix, for bursts at a time. Not forever, but on and off, binge to this work. And also use it as a regular foundation of your life. It will give you time, not take it away, because that's how our mind works. Time comes from the human mind. We have beliefs about what can happen and when. Let's go and change that, revolutionize that, and then everything else changes. And then what happens, one day she was tapping, and her lungs, all of a sudden, lady with chronic asthma, went really tight, and then they went pop. And then she went, and she took a deep breath for the first time. She messaged me and she was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Ever since I was a child, I had asthma. This is the first time in my life I can remember taking a deep breath. She's got tears. I've got a video of her crying to me in tears in her eyes, thanking me for what just happened. She lived in nature in the mountains, and she couldn't go hiking with her husband and their kids. Her husband and her kids would trundle off up the mountains right at the back of the house so she could see them going up the mountain. And if she ever tried to follow them, she'd go instantly into an asthma attack. But she did my work, funnily enough, on something unrelated, which was self-worth, which was like money stuff, which was believing in herself, which was clearing fears and limiting beliefs and doubts, because everything's connected. And bingo bango, that happened. I could go on and on and on, from clients healing foot pain to healing migraines to healing frozen shoulder. I'm currently working with a lady to heal MS, and so far the sessions have been amazing. And I know without a doubt that as we keep going, it's going to heal as well. It just can sometimes take long term. I saved clients from hysterectomies, from operations to have like invasive back pain surgery. We can heal your back pain. So whatever it is, come to me for your healing. Yes, it does take time. Yes, it does take energy. Yes, it does take money. But otherwise, you're going to be on the rat race, spending money on different doctors, on different things, like for who knows how long. And who knows what life you'll miss out on, because healing this isn't just about healing your pain. It's about getting your life back. It's about creating a life that you've never had before, but now where you are, instead of always constantly needing something else, is about being able to make what is here now good, great, and amazing. It's about being able to trust yourself, to say yes and no when the time is right. It's about realizing that there is no winning formula and that you do things your way, connecting with God inside of you, or with the divine mind, infinite spirit, Holy Spirit, whichever ones you like. It doesn't matter. As long as you can believe in a higher power guiding you, where even if you're just seeing it as law of attraction, it literally doesn't matter. What matters is you have faith in good things happening, and we can work with that. And as you connect with your intuition, your higher self, God, the divine, on these deeper and higher levels, everything changes. You begin to know what to do. You begin to know that it's safe to rest when your body needs you to. You open up to amazing opportunities, and things happen that you never even imagined could happen. And so this is work that I love to share with you. I have several options. You can start with me on my 3-session Pure Fire Starter Package. And it's a bit of a play on words, like it's pure fire, but it's also a purifier. It's an emotional purification. And you can do 3 sessions. Now, I would do single sessions happily, except that it's irresponsible. Okay, when you do a session, you're gonna have stuff come up. Okay, now some people can do one session, have a big pop, a big burst, and then all of a sudden, I've had some clients just go out the gates and then manifest a whole heap of money, change their relationship, and everything changes because but they're rare. Okay, but there's nothing wrong with that if you need longer. 3 sessions means that we can maintain, or let's say take care of any healing reactions. So symptoms are your body's way of healing itself. So when you start healing, things are going to move. You're going to have things shift. You're going to have maybe pain come up. You might have big bursts of energy. At first, you'll probably feel very tired and sleep, and then wake up feeling better. You might have tears and emotions come out. But this is all part of the healing. You can either keep it inside forever so you don't have to feel the stuff, or you can bite the bullet, say, I'm ready for this, I'm ready to heal, I'm done living like this, because you're feeling the pain anyway. Let's move it through your body, let's get it out and revitalize you, replenish you in the name of Jesus, or in the name of the most highest loving spirit. That's what we're talking about here. We're simply talking about bringing love, the spirit, the actual living spirit of love into your body. That's how I work. We actually use the supernatural to help you heal, while also using your own breath, your own psychology, and creating a relationship with yourself. And you will see that as you heal your pain, you'll be shocked at what else heals in your life. So either start with my 3-session Pure Fire Starter Package, and you can repeat those if you want, or jump right in for my 17-week package. If you pay in full, I give you 2 extra sessions as a bonus, making it 19 weeks. And you don't just get sessions, you'll also get my support throughout. I'll give you any supporting content that you need. I won't overwhelm you with more than you're available for. And I'll be there just to help you and hold your hand throughout the whole journey. And you might find that once it ends, you'll definitely, probably, maybe come back for more, either straight away, or you might leave for a few months or even years and then come back and do more, because it may be that you might have a tiny flare up, but it's never anything ever, even a percentage. Like it's not even a fraction of what it used to be if it ever flares up again, ever. But then what happens is you have other things come up, just like life. We never get rid of our problems. We only ever swap one problem for another. And so if you found something that works on healing your problems, why wouldn't you continue to want to use a thing that heals your problems effectively, right? So I help you tap into solutions. I help you tap into your creativity. I help you tap into your vitality, your health, your healing potential, and healing powers. So if this sounds good to you, let me know. Go below, follow the flow, sign up with me, and let's go. I'm Kai Clifford, your spiritual guide and energy alchemist, and I'm so excited to help you in your pain freedom journey.